everyone. Thank you for joining me for day 9 of our Read Aloud, Read Along of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, right here. We are in the middle of chapter 3, and when we last left off, and if you'd like to follow along, you can look at page 92 of your PDF. We're at the very bottom of page 92. But when we last left off, the party, the dwarves and Bilbo Baggins and Gandalf had just defeated the trolls and had moved in towards the last homely house, towards the elves. And we discovered that Bilbo Baggins is very interested in the lives of elves, and the dwarves are not. The dwarves are not good friends with the elves because apparently they make fun of their beards. Shameful. So we're going to read some more today, and we're going to finish chapter 3. It's going to be kind of a short read. Before I continue, I do want to remind everybody that we should still be reading for 20 minutes every day. And when we start our online learning officially next Monday, that's going to be April 13th, you're going to have a reading response to do every day. And so this is a way that you can do reading. Remember, there's lots of different ways to read. You can read yourself, read the words by yourself, read with a partner, you could read with somebody at home, you could listen to reading, you could write about reading, but you need to be doing some kind of reading. And so I think that this is a really fun way to do it. Anyways, so let's go back to where we were. They had just heard the elves singing a mocking little song in the trees. Don't dip your beard in the foam, Father, they cried to Thorin, who was bent almost onto his hands and knees. It is long enough without watering it. So he's a very long beard. Mine Bilbo doesn't eat all the cakes, they called. He is too fat to get through keyholes yet. Hush, hush, good people and good night, said Gandalf, who came last. Valleys have ears and some elves have over-merry tongues. Good night. And so, at last, they all came to the last homely house and found its doors flung wide. Now, it is a strange thing, but things that are good to have and days that are good to spend are soon told about and not much to listen to, while things that are uncomfortable, palpitating, and even gruesome make a good tale, and take a deal of telling anyway. They stayed long in that good house, 14 days at least. And they found it hard to leave. Bilbo would gladly have stopped there forever and ever, even supposing a wish would have taken him right back to his hobbit hole without trouble. Yet there is little to tell about their stay. The master of the house was an elf friend, one of those people whose fathers came into the strange stories before the beginning of history. The wars of the evil goblins and the elves and the first men in the north. In those days of our tale, there were still some people who had both elves and heroes of the north for ancestors, and Elrond, the master of the house, was their chief. He was as noble and as fair in face as an elf lord, as strong as a warrior, as wise as a wizard, and as venerable as a king of the dwarves, and as kind as summer. He comes into many tales, but his part in the story of Bilbo's great adventure is only a small one, though important, as you will see if we ever get to the end of it. His house was perfect, whether you liked food or sleep or work or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking best, or a pleasant mixture of them all. Evil things did not come into that valley. I wish I had time to tell you even a few of the tales or one or two of the songs that they heard in that house. All of them, the ponies as well, grew refreshed and strong in the few days there. Their clothes were mended as well as their bruises, their tempers, and their hopes. Their bags were filled with food and provisions, light to carry but strong to bring them over the mountain passes. Their plans were improved with the best advice. So the time came to Midsummer's Eve, and they were to go on again with the early sun on midsummer morning. Elrond knew all about runes of every kind. Now, runes are a kind of writing. It's like little symbols, old-fashioned kind of writing. So those of you who like secret codes, you probably should do some research into runes. You probably would like them. Elrond knew all about runes of every kind. That day he looked at the swords they had brought from the troll's lair and said, "These are not troll make. These are old swords. Very old swords of the high elves in the west, my kin. They were made in Gondolin for the Goblin Wars. They must have come from a dragon's horde or goblin plunder, for dragons and goblins destroyed that city many ages ago. This, Thorin, the runes name Orcrist, the goblin cleaver in the ancient tongue of Gondolin. It was a famous blade. This, Gandalf, is Glamdring, Foehammer, that the king of Gondolin once wore. Keep them well." "Whence do the trolls get them, I wonder?" said Thorin, looking at his sword with new interest. "I could not say," said Elrond, "but one may guess that your trolls had plundered other plunderers, or come on the remnants of old robberies in some hold in the mountains. I have heard that there are still forgotten treasures of old to be found in the deserted caverns of the mines of Moria since the dwarf and goblin war." Thorin pondered these words. "I will keep this sword in honor," he said. "May it soon cleave goblins once again." "A wish that is likely to be granted soon enough in the mountains," said Elrond. "But now, show me your map." He took it and gazed long at it and shook his head, for if he did not altogether approve of dwarves and their love of gold, he hated dragons and their cruel wickedness. And he grieved to remember the ruin of the town of Dale and its merry bells and the burned banks of the bright river running. The moon was shining in a broad silver crescent. He held up the map, and the white light shone through it. "What is this?" he said. "There are moon letters here beside the plain runes, which say 5 feet high the door and 3 may walk abreast." "What are moon letters?" asked the hobbit, full of excitement. He loved maps, as I have told you before. And he also liked runes and letters and cunning handwriting, though when he wrote himself it was a bit thin and spidery. "Moon letters are rune letters, but you cannot see them," said Elrond, "not when you look straight at them. They can only be seen when the moon shines behind them. And what is more, with the more cunning sort, it must be a moon of the same shape and season as the day that they were written. The dwarves invented them and wrote them with silver pens, as your friends could tell you. These must have been written on a midsummer's eve in a crescent moon long ago." "What do they say?" asked Gandalf and Thorin together, a bit vexed perhaps that even Elrond should have found this out first, though really there had not been a chance before, and there would not have been another chance until goodness knows when. "Stand by the grey stone when the thrush knocks," read Elrond, "and the setting sun with the last light of Durin's day will shine upon the keyhole." "Durin, Durin," said Thorin. "He was the father of the fathers of the eldest race of the dwarves, the Longbeards, and my first ancestor. I am his heir." "Then what is Durin's day?" asked Elrond. "The first day of the dwarves' new year," said Thorin, "is, as all should know, the first day of the last moon of autumn on the threshold of winter." We should all know that. "We still call it Durin's Day when the last moon of autumn and the sun are in the sky together. But this will not help us much, I fear, for it passes our skill in these days to guess when such a time will come again." "That remains to be seen," said Gandalf. "Is there any more writing?" "None to be seen by this moon," said Elrond, and he gave the map back to Thorin. And then they went down to the water to see the elves dance and sing upon the midsummer's eve. The next morning was a midsummer's morning, as fair and fresh as could be dreamed, blue sky and never a cloud, and the sun dancing on the water. Now they rode away amid songs of farewell and good speed, with their hearts ready for more adventure, and with a knowledge of the road that they must follow over the misty mountains to the land beyond. And that's the end of chapter 3. So, I think a lot of you would be very interested to see moon runes in real life, because I know how much you like the invisible ink and all of the stuff that you can only see with a special light. So, but isn't that cool? So there's a secret hidden clue on the map that you have to be able to look at the map at the exact right time in moonlight to be able to see that clue. So now the dwarves have an extra little clue to help them on their journey, and we're done with chapter 3. So thanks again for joining me for our Read Aloud, Read Along of The Hobbit, and I will see you tomorrow for part 10. Bye.